Yesterday was really important. About 1 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time, China, U.S. came across the wire about imposing the tariffs on more of Chinese products. Where do we go? Straight down. So if you're looking for an update about what's going on, you got to know about that. If you don't, you do now. So what I don't want to do is to be in this meeting, right, when a headline comes across that makes it bearish again, like they're going to impose these tariffs and China's going to do this, or something bullish. Anticipate that. What could be bullish? China and the U.S. have agreed to come to the table, or President Xi and President Trump are going to meet at the G20 meeting and get this done. All that kind of talk or words or headlines will drive the market either up or down, know which way, and trade it. Anticipate it before you trade it, because if you're not anticipating what the next headlines are going to be, you're not going to diligently react to it. Now, with that being said, this could come out in the middle of the night when we're sleeping. What are you going to do? Nothing. But if you're trading and you have the news source and you know this comes out and you're not able to capitalize on it, and the market goes up a little bit and you buy it because you know it's going to go up a lot more, it's your fault. You might not catch the absolute bottom, or where, you know, the bottom is where the market is right when the headline comes out. It might pop, but it might not pop enough where there's another big pop coming. You go in and reach it for comments like this. You've seen what it did in the last 2 hours yesterday. If you're watching this video on recording, it's October 30th. So October 29th, go look at a chart, 1 o'clock Central. You've seen what it did the last 2 hours. They absolutely annihilated it on the comment about these tariffs. So know what's driving the market. It's that. There's other headwinds to the market. They're still afraid of higher interest rates. So that's on the horizon. The midterms here in the U.S., the Democrats take over the House. I think bearish, knee-jerk at least. We'll talk more about that. That's actually a week from today, and we're going to preview that next week when it's actually happening. That's what we did in November of 16 during the presidential election. That day, you could go back and archive it. We kind of previewed what to expect, what states to look for, and then we opened up, jumped in the team room and traded it. We might do the same, but I got to see if there are going to be some clear pivotal points. But I think everybody should be in front of their screens for next week's midterms. Again, if you're watching this in the future on a recording, it might not be as relevant to you. So let's get back to the topic of today as these markets are flying around. And again, these meetings are all about meeting in a conference room, right? So if we're trying to always give the whole environment, like if we all work together in a trading firm, we meet at least once a week and we're all in the conference room, right? Well, I have you guys sitting here and I'd say, hey, listen, we're going to be a short one because we're moving out there. Why don't you get back to your desk? So that's why this will be a shorter meeting. Now, what I was thinking about over the weekend is two things. Number one is when the markets are moving really fast, you're going to miss more. It just happens. You're going to miss more the faster a market's moving. There's more opportunities. More opportunities, you're going to miss more. So therefore, you're going to have this feeling of this gray circle. What is this gray circle? Anxiety. So for a second, just pretend this gray circle is anxiety, anger, emptiness. And what does the mind try to do when you feel like that? It tries to fill the void, right? Tries to get it back. If you just got knocked to the ice and you're a hockey player, try to get up and knock the guy down as soon as possible, right? And that might be fine for hockey, but it's not fine for trading. So and you could prepare for this and watch this meeting and it'll still happen to you. So you really got to be cognizant on top of your game for this. And that is when you miss stuff, you're going to feel that way. Now you got to fight it, combat it, recognize it, so you don't let that turn into action. Because anxious trade, avenge trades all come on the heels of a bad trade or a mistrade. And mistrades are considered bad by our minds. So this circle, if it represents anxiety, does two things. It makes you take trades that are outside your setup. It makes you take trades that looks like a trade. But when you go back and you're like, man, if I was more objective, this isn't my trade. I forced it. I pushed it. So well, here someone just said they feel like a failure when they miss a trade that they should have gotten. You can't feel like a failure. You got to feel like I'm better. At least I recognize I missed that trade in 5 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago instead of 10 hours. Think about a failure is someone that doesn't even know what they're missing. That's a failure. But when you're recognizing what you're missing in closer proximity of missing it, you're getting better and better. And then you could then you could not miss it. That's kind of how you would take it. So that's good. I'm glad you put that in there. Don't feel like a failure. At least you're recognizing you're missing something. Failing is not even knowing what you're missing. Because now you don't have a chance. So going back to what we do next after a missed trade. Because of those feelings that this person has, you want to make up for failing, make up for the anxiety. Get back ASAP that feeling, remove that feeling of anxiety. So this circle is represents that angst. Well, how do we get through it? How do we eliminate it? We put on a stupid trade, or we start looking hard for a trade that may or may not exist. I said this in the trading room. If you're feeling like you're looking at the market to come up with an opinion, you should stop. If you've done your homework, if you've trained yourself, the opinion should come to you and the market should be talking to you. If you have to look too hard, you're not letting the market come to you. All right? So that's one clue that you might force a trade. One clue is you're looking too hard. The second clue is honestly, that's the second clue. The first clue is you just missed something. So prepare yourself for doing something stupid after you miss a trade. At least you have a chance not to do something stupid, right? Recognize what you miss and prepare yourself for doing something stupid. That's where the verbal journal comes in, and I'm going to use that so much more as I go forward on different software that you guys are going to like. But if you have the verbal journal, if you have Sierra charts or you have Ninja 7 or 8, you got to get this verbal journal. If you have Ninja that you don't use, but you can use it for this verbal journal and ask me about it, and I'll tell you more about it. What that does, and people in here that have used it, is allows you to recognize when you miss trades and start to document how the hell you feel. This whole idea of writing in notebooks your journal, typing on a screen in your journal, reading what you're thinking. That's 1990s. That's 2005. 2018, you got to listen to what you're saying. Don't read what you write. Listen to what you're saying. That's going to help you do better things after you're in an anxious moment. I'll give you an example. Psychiatrists, when you go in, if you ever been to one, and I'll be honest, I never have, but I know what goes on in there. I've seen movies. And they have people sit on a couch or a chair, right? It's not always a couch. What do they do at these sessions? Does the person, the doctor or the psychiatrist, do they tell that other person sitting there, hey, write a bunch of stuff out and let's read it. Keep writing and let's read it. Write this and let's read it. Write this and I'll read it. They talk. The psychiatrist gets the patient to talk, to get their feelings out. As they're talking, they're also listening to themselves. That's the way you get better, by getting it out. And whether you know it or not, when you're recording it, you could go back and listen, but when you're saying it, you're listening to it. It's more powerful than writing it down. If writing it down was more powerful, that's what you would do in the session. You wouldn't talk, you would write. You talk, and that's what you need to do to help avoid doing something stupid. But if you don't know that you missed a trade, then you're going to do something stupid, and you don't even know why. At least prepare yourself for doing something anxious and taking an revenge trade so you have a chance to miss it, to miss the bad trades instead of missing the good trades, all right? Now, and that's what happens, Mark. He says, don't make SHIT up when you're trading. That's what you do when you get anxious. You start making stuff up to justify or validate a trade. And that's well said. When you start making stuff up, your filter is coming across your eyes to get you to see something that's not there. So going through the circle of forcing a trade because of anxiety. Now, there's something else that happens. There's another dynamic that happens. Let's say you miss a trade. Let's get rid of this. Let's say you have a trade out here, and it was a move, but it wasn't a trade. What do I mean by that? This was a trade that you shouldn't have taken, but it was a good move. You're like, man, I missed it. No, you didn't. You never set up to trade it. You actually think you missed something you didn't. Every move isn't a trade necessarily. No matter how good your strategy or setup is, doesn't get you in a position to catch every move. What's the definition of a move? Just that. The market moves. Good, in one direction. That's the definition of a move. Moves down, moves up. Hey, there was a good move to the downside. Here was a good move to the upside. I missed 2 trades. No, you didn't. Well, maybe you did. But if you didn't have a setup or something to validate it, you didn't miss it. Yet your mind's all pissed off because it tricks itself to think you missed something that you weren't supposed to take. Now you're doing stuff on the backs of something that is a misnomer because you weren't supposed to take the damn thing to begin with. So be cognizant of that. Not every move was a trade. You're not supposed to catch every move. Let's say you did have a trade, though. Let's say it was a good move. It was a good trade and you missed it. That's what this rectangle represents, right? It represents a bad, not a bad trade, but a mistrade, which feels the same. So now you put yourself in this predicament where you're feeling anxious, right? It feels like Sesame Street with all these shapes and numbers. Now you feel anxious. So what you try to do then is you put on a trade. All right? You miss a trade, that's this rectangle. You're feeling anxious, that's this circle. So you force a trade, that's this diamond. All right? 2 things could happen. Number 1, it's an ill-advised trade. So if it works, it becomes a drug making you feel good, but overall it's not going to be good for you, right? Number 2, there's something inside the trade that happens that I want you to pay attention to. Something that's inside the trade that it's not allowing me to draw. I'm going to draw it. Something inside the trade that's another dimension. And that is the expectation you had for that trade. Not only could it be an ill-advised trade that you forced, but you're looking to get a bigger winner than the market's going to give you because of what you missed over here. This is done. This is over with. But yet in here, you're still trading the past. The feeling of missing a trade. You're letting the present be too much affected by the past. Not only are you taking the trade because you missed it, but inside the trade, you're screwing it up. Why? Because you need a bigger winner out of it to make up for this missed winner. So it's 2 things. It's a trade you shouldn't have taken, and then you manage it like SHIT because your expectations were off. Once in a while, it'll work. That's the drug effect to make you want to take it again. Overall, you know it's bad for you, but once in a while, because it works, you take it. This progression happens more when it's volatile. That's why I'm covering it this week. Because you're gonna think that every move was a trade, and it's not. Nobody has a trade for every move up and every move down and every move up and every move down, and then they stay out of this and then they get in there. There's nobody that has a trade to cover every single move. But because it's moving faster, you're going to think there's opportunity, and there is, but that doesn't mean you have a setup for each one. So don't get anxious about it. One other thing I'll cover when it comes to this is maybe you had a trade that you were supposed to take. In fact, let me do this right. Let's say this was a missed trade. So you're feeling anxious, but you actually have a trade you're supposed to take. It's not an events trade. It's not because of the anxiety. It's actually a trade that you should take, right? And we're going to make that an open rectangle. This one over here you missed. Over here you missed. But over here, you're supposed to take it, and you take it. Now you got to watch out for what I just said a moment ago. Now you got to watch out for what's inside the trade. Now you're supposed to take the trade, but inside the trade is how you manage it. If you let what's going on inside the trade be affected by you're still pissed because you missed this one, then you're going to mismanage a trade you should take. So that's the other dimension about taking trades you either should or shouldn't take. But how, if you think too much about what you missed, how it could affect taking trades you shouldn't, or how you manage the trade after you take it. Whether you should have taken the trade or not, you could mismanage the trade if you keep thinking about this. You have to do a good job, you really do, at disassociating, disconnecting your thoughts and feelings about something else that happened, or you're not going to get better in the moment. You're not going to be objective and good in the trade, in the next trade, and finding it and letting them come to you and being patient. It's like someone who's fired up as a manager of a baseball team, yelling at the umpire and staying that emotional for the 9 innings. He's not going to manage a good game if he's that emotional. He's got to disconnect and move on to the next play, to the next inning. You see it in all kinds of performance. You got to come down. You got to disconnect. And if you're not good at that, you're not going to be good at this. So you have to have a really crappy feeling over here, and not when you're over on this side. You have to have a disconnect. You got to break this line so it looks like this. There's got to be a gap where you break it. So you're focusing on this going forward, not the past. You cannot, the past is important, but if you carry too much baggage from it, it adversely affects the now and the future. All right? There's a lot more we could do on this. I'm trying to get Steenbarger to come on. I think he's scheduled to come in December and talk about some different things. I got to confirm that again, but look forward to that in the next month or so. I know the holidays are coming up. We're still going to do these edge sessions into the early December. It comes up quick. Don't forget about Tuesday. If you're watching this live, next Tuesday, next meeting, we're going to preview the midterms, which are happening that day. Okay. But just remember the psychology of, even if your missed trades are your worst trades, and you don't often get a chance to review the damn things, because they don't come up in your statistics. They don't come up on your statement. They don't come up on in anything you try to look at. That's where a product like the Verbal Journal allows you to now document missed trades and color them a certain color dot. So for you guys that have Ninja or Sierra, how many people have Ninja or Sierra in here? How many people have it? Ninja or Brad, I think you got it. So do you, Bob. But if you've got, I'm going to write like crap in here. But if you got one of those two for now, it works on it. Verbal Journal. I want you guys to look at this, even if you don't have it. Trading. Wow, is that bad? Trading.com. Take a look at it. If you want it on a different platform, ask me. Don't ask the other platform. Ask me. Verbal Journal. There's a discount for Edge guys I'll give you. So let me know in the room, trading room, if you're interested, and I'll talk to you about it. This is one of the coolest things I came up with. I'll talk about it in more detail at future meetings, but if you have access to NT or Sierra, get it, and it's discounted for Edge users. If you don't have it, I'll try to get it on a platform near you, but ask me. Don't ask the dopey platform guys. They'll try to create it, and I'll have to tell them there's a patent pending on it. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow in the room. Strap yourself in, take your hat off though, because the markets are moving, and be cognizant of headline risk.